These are the reasons why good and decent men today prefer not to approach women anymore. Welcome back, dear friends. This is a phenomenon I have been observing for quite some time now. Great, decent, good men often hesitate today when it comes to approaching women. First, a small anecdote. Recently, I was in a bar with a good colleague. He is single and, well, he is actually open to a relationship. We were sitting there on the sofa, and I noticed that a woman, she was standing at the bar with her group of friends, was giving him a glance every now and then. He noticed it too. So I suggested, "Come on, let's go to the bar and order something. That's inconspicuous, and maybe you'll end up talking to her somehow." His reaction, "No thanks, better not." "What?" Then he says, "Yeah, and if she's actually not interested, I'll do everything wrong anyway. And also, why do I always have to be the one who acts? Maybe she just looked over by coincidence." And I thought, how unfortunate. Who dares wins. But he's not the only one who reacts this way. Many men hesitate today to approach women, or they simply don't approach them at all. And in this video, I want to look at the various reasons for this, the causes, and at the end also present possible solutions for men and for women. This video was inspired by a conversation with British author Liz Perry on YouTube. I have already reacted to one of her videos on this channel. I find her views very interesting. And please tell me in the comments if you feel the same way as my colleague, and if so, why? One reason why many men hesitate to approach women today is simply that the entire topic of dating feels too complicated. Rules, expectations, all of that can be overwhelming, and many therefore choose to stay alone rather than expose themselves to the effort and the possible risk. I think it's a pity, but honestly, I can't blame them. Another reason is that relationships today no longer have the same priority they once had, for men or women. Especially young people see that many relationships fail, often even their own parents. They witness a divorce and then think, it doesn't work anyway. On top of that, in the last 10 to 20 years, traditional family values and structures have shifted into the background in favor of self-realization. Of course, less so in conservative or religious environments, but in many other social areas. Another reason is the fear of rejection, and this is completely understandable. In the past, it was totally normal to approach a woman in a bar or club. Many relationships developed that way very naturally. Men still do this today, of course, but for many, that step feels like an enormous hurdle. Am I wrong? The fear of rejection is not new. It has always existed, but many men have lost the desire to make the first move. On one hand, because they often get rejected, and on the other, because they want to avoid a condescending or even spiteful reaction from the woman. My impression is that in the past, women mostly viewed being approached as a compliment, and therefore declined politely if they weren't interested. Many still do that today. I don't want to generalize, but some women today see an approach as an opportunity to demonstrate their independence from men, and sometimes they are quite rude or harsh in how they turn men down. And it is fully legitimate to reject a man or not want to be approached at all. And yes, there really are men who overestimate the effect they have on women, men who don't notice when a woman truly has no interest. But that doesn't change the fact that men need to show the courage to make the first move. Even in 2025, the responsibility usually lies with the man. He must think of nice gestures, initiate an interesting conversation, and he carries the full risk of rejection. The woman, in most cases, is simply the receiver. Many assume the perfect man will somehow just fall into their lap without them having to show any initiative. Personally, I appreciate these traditional roles. When I was single, I viewed being approached by a man as a compliment as well. But I do also see that there is a gender-based imbalance here. In an age of emancipation, it naturally seems contradictory when women rarely approach men in these early stages and expect the effort to come from the man. And when he does make the move, and is then rejected rudely or arrogantly, such experiences frustrate not only that man, and men talk among each other, but they also reduce the chances for all women to be approached. Another reason men hesitate to approach women today is that women sometimes send very contradictory signals. They often don't even know exactly what they want themselves. On one hand, she doesn't like being approached. On the other hand, she wonders why men never approach her. But often she doesn't signal anything actively. No smile, no eye contact. So a man doesn't even realize he would be welcome. And ultimately, it's often like this. It depends on who approaches her. If it's the right guy, he can do nothing wrong. If she's not interested, he can do nothing right. Don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming women. I'm a woman myself, and I've seen this in myself in the past. It's human. But of course, I understand that this behavior makes the situation much harder for men. And that's why I think it would help if women were more aware of their own behavior and how it affects men. More on that later. Next point, the perfection shown on social media. Just as you see the most beautiful women in the world there, you also see the most attractive men. They present their perfect lives. Six-packs, tall, good-looking, successful, financially secure. Especially young men compare themselves to these images, feel inadequate, and believe they stand no chance with women because they can't offer any of that. It's easy to forget that social media rarely reflects reality. But these images influence how people see themselves and what chances they believe they have. So social media can make men even more insecure because they think they can't compete. Safety concerns. Yes, women are mindful of their safety. They tend to be skeptical and cautious toward unfamiliar men who approach them in a bar or anywhere else. That is understandable. There are enough sociopaths out there. There are aggressive men who speak to women disrespectfully. But this justified caution also has a side effect. It makes women appear less open overall, which makes approaching them harder for men. Another reason men hesitate today relates to the Me Too movement. Author Liz Perry sees this as a factor contributing to many men's hesitation. She reports that men today are often more reluctant to approach women in bars or similar situations out of fear of being falsely accused of inappropriate behavior. Perry believes that the men who were already sexually pushy or problematic have barely changed their behavior because of Me Too. Those who became more cautious were already decent and respectful from the beginning. I agree with her, because measures against extreme harmful behavior always affect the entire group. Even men who have always behaved appropriately are affected. They withdraw, while the actual offenders change very little. And the result? The intervention does not reach its intended goal. It does not improve the situation for women regarding the bad men. It mostly affects the good men, who then hold back more and more. They are no longer spontaneous around women. They would rather avoid flirting, avoid compliments, avoid gentlemanly gestures, because some women don't want that. And not only that, today as a man, for a single wrong gesture or wrong word, you can quickly be publicly shamed. And I completely understand why some men are discouraged from taking on the role of flirt initiator. And I think that's unfortunate, because this collective withdrawal, let's call it withdrawal, affects all women, including women who don't take everything so seriously, for whom a wrong word or look is not a big deal. And there are many of these women. But unfortunately, today it often feels like the overly sensitive ones dictate the rules. People may say the peak has passed, that wokeness is dead, that modern feminism isn't as strong anymore. But in reality, it still influences many areas of society. I'm talking about modern feminism, not classical feminism. And so, for me, this is one of the negative side effects of the Me Too movement. And perhaps the most important reason why many men hesitate to approach women today is that women generally show less openness. We have become the men we once wanted to marry. This is a famous quote from feminist Gloria Steinem, and for some men, this is frustrating because traditional roles have shifted. Women no longer need men for security or financial support, and this leads some men to feel unnecessary. Perry says, and I quote, "The real problem men face is not feminism itself, although feminism has accepted some of these developments. The true issue is technology and prosperity. In highly developed and wealthy societies, men who are not extremely intelligent or particularly successful, ordinary men, have less and less to do, and that gives them the feeling that they are no longer needed." How do you feel about this statement? Yes? No? Why? And at the same time, this also complicates dating, because women today are more selective, send fewer signals that a man is welcome, and generally show less openness. It's a bit tricky, so my advice would be, if women showed themselves a bit more open and inviting, it could reduce male hesitation. The less receptive women appear, the harder it is for men to correctly interpret interest. And that becomes a real obstacle. Women could make it easier for men by consciously sending signals, or even approaching a man themselves if they like him. Friendly rejection is also important, even when there is no interest, and realistic expectations. No one has to be perfect. These things create a more open atmosphere. Men can simply do their best, approach women respectfully and authentically, pay attention to signals, and even then, rejection can still happen. And that says nothing about your worth. The key is not to take it personally and to stay true to yourself. What can society do? Society can once again emphasize the value of relationships and family, bring them more to the center, and promote a culture that supports closeness and getting to know each other. Discussion open. Thank you for watching. See you very soon.